Little unboxing and review video tonight. If you follow my channel, you'll have probably waited for this video for quite some time. My channel has featured Doc Marten boots over the years in many different models, many different reviews, and all the way through people have always said you've got to try out SOLOVAIR. They are effectively what Doc Martens used to be. They still have the quality, they're handmade, they're made in the UK, made in England, and they're everything that made Doc Martens famous for their quality in the first place. So here we are. If you follow my channel, you'll know that I've had recent issues with Doc Martens quality. My first experiences in recent years were through the the For Life brand or models. And now that that's ceased, they're replacing those with their standard models. So I've had the classic shiny black and also the most recent Hard Life smooth black. And both those have failed after a relatively short amount of time. On the classics, there was splitting to the leather on the side of the toe box where there were creases, and bizarrely on the Hard Life, the inside of the heel cap started to fail after only 6 months. So Doc Martens have been really good. They're replacing them. That's not a big problem, but just that underlying quality issue is a bit of concern. So SOLOVAIR is the next boot to try. So let's pop these out, and you'll instantly see some familiarities or similarities. So these are the 8i Derby boots in shiny black. I thought this could be a good place to start with the brand because these seem to bear the closest parallel with the famous shiny black 1460s from Doc Martens. And that's what I'm being told. These are what Doc Martens should be. These have maintained the values and the quality of those Doc Martens from all those years ago, 70s, 80s, when they really made their own name. So SOLOVAIR and Doc Martens are two brands which have always been inexplicably or closely linked, there's a bit of history to that. So SOLOVAIR is made by the MPS factory in Wollaston, Northamptonshire. Doc Martens themselves have always been made in Northamptonshire. Northamptonshire is famous for their shoe industry, and the relationship between MPS, SOLOVAIR and Doc Martens, I think, is along the lines of what follows. So MPS, long-standing boot manufacturers, started business in 1881, but in the late 50s, or in fact 1960, there was a position where Doc Martens' design had been patented by a company called R. Griggs with its sole, its air sole. But R. Griggs did not have the technology to create the boot. They didn't have the ability to attach the sole in the way that it is. So it's a Goodyear welt with a sort of heat soldered sort of seams, so it's basically melted together after the Goodyear welt is applied. But MPS did. So R. Griggs commissioned MPS to manufacture the Doc Martens patented bouncing sole and their boots in entirety. So MPS continued to manufacture Doc Martens up until I think the early 90s. They continued to manufacture a sort of what I imagine was probably the equivalent of the Made in England Doc Martens boots up until 1995, so it was Doc Martens by SOLOVAIR. In 1995, that relationship finished. SOLOVAIR MPS trademarked the brand SOLOVAIR and started making boots which were very similar in style and design to Doc Martens. So that's what I understand of the history. If you know different, please put down in the comments below, and I will correct myself if needs be in a future review. But that's what I know of the history. We'll come in for some details on these and just show you how they're built, and indeed shortly we'll do a follow-up video and we'll do a direct side-by-side comparison of these against some Doc Marten boots, and we can really look at some of the similarities and differences, because once you start looking, there are actually quite a lot of differences in there. So buying from SOLOVAIR, I bought it direct off their website. Usefully, unlike a lot of brands, they do have some sizing guides, so they go the route of basically trace around your foot with a sock on a piece of paper, measure it up toe to heel, both feet, and then compare the biggest to their sizing charts with a little bit of wiggle room, half a centimetre wiggle room, just to allow for a bit of flexibility around toes. I ended up with 8.5s. I would have expected to be 8. I'm 8 in Doc Martens for sure. I'm 8 in most of the boots, but the tables just nudged me towards 8.5. I did have a quick online exchange with SOLOVAIR, and they felt that was probably actually the right call. The interesting thing was they would not compare their sizing or anything else with Doc Martens. I don't know whether that's just courtesy, whether it's a gentleman's agreement, or whether as they parted ways there was a non-compete sort of clause or anything like that, but they will not compare their product with Doc Martens, but I will, so that's fine. So 8.5, and they do fit pretty well, and we'll pop them on in a minute. You can see them on. The last, I think, is a little bit narrower than the offshore made Doc Martens. The made in England Doc Martens actually are a bit narrower as well, but certainly I feel that these probably are about right at 8.5. And if you've got a boot which is too small, you've got problems. If you've got a boot which is a little bit too generous after break-in, that can be sorted with a thick pair of socks. So in general, I've been pretty impressed with these. They look really nice out of the box. Lots of little differences from Doc Martens. And we'll come in for some close-ups and show you exactly how they're put together. Some close-ups here. Working around the boot from the sole. One thing, giveaway thing different between SOLOVAIR and Doc Martens is that the edge of the sole unit there is smooth. You can see how it's been sort of trimmed to size and sort of milled off, but it doesn't have the sort of standard grooves and lines that Doc Martens have. Grey stitching on the welt, and in general just a more delicate welt construction, I think, but we'll do some side comparisons in another video. Rubber and tread pattern, again very similar to you see on Doc Martens. I think the tread pattern is a little bit deeper, which is great, because one of my key issues with Doc Martens is the speed that this can wear out, wear smooth. On the bottom there you've got SOLOVAIR, made in England, soft suspension sole. The lattice pattern is very similar to Doc Martens. The durometer, the hardness of the rubber, it's very hard to tell. I might actually get a tester at some point, because I think that's critical to the longevity of a boot sometimes. Yeah, nice looking soles, a little bit sort of smoky grey rather than sort of the amber maybe that you'd see on Doc Martens. Moving up the shoe, as I say, a relatively narrow last. Nice proportions on the toe box there. Some of the made in England boots, depending on the sizes, can look a little bit stubby up on the front on the Doc Martens. Triple stitching on the quarters, single on the heel, double up the back there. Nice SOLOVAIR tab there. One thing that you'll notice, it'll probably be a little bit hard to spot, but on all the made in England boots and these, you can see the little track marks where the boots have been stitched together on the old machinery. So yeah, that's so a little artefact of that handmade, hand-stitched. Well, it's machine stitched, but it's manipulated by hand in the UK on those sort of heritage machines. Just looks rather nice. Nice little details. 8 holes, bellows tongue. We'll have a quick look on a unlaced model there. You can see The tongue bellows go up to the sort of halfway up the 5th hole there, and you've got the double thickness on the inside. Separate piece for the tongue. Inside you've got a, can't quite make out whether this is it's a sort of a fibre footbed, but with a leather sort of heel patch, which will break in nicely, all branded up with SOLOVAIR info. Just make out there that the vamp is fabric lined, so that's a little bit of wicking material. Now, one thing I would say is the word on the internet is these are of a significantly better quality than Doc Martens are, and the leather I expect it to be slightly chunkier than this, a thicker sort of hand of leather, but it's still relatively fine, as you'd find with Doc Martens, but time will tell how that's going to wear. On the inside of the heel cap, you see that it's got a black lining. That's actually almost a sort of felt material, so that's going to be really nice and comfy. We'll see how that wears over time, but overall, nice clean stitching all round. Made in England stamp there. Yeah, they're looking pretty good. That brings us to the end of the video. One thing that I haven't mentioned before is price point. So these are, I believe, £180 delivered, and that does put it pretty much exactly the same point as the Made in England Doc Martens. Whether they're better or not, that will be seen. We'll do some follow-up videos. I'll do one explaining the break-in process. I've heard that SOLOVAIR is an easier break-in than Doc Martens. I've never found Doc Martens to be particularly hard, but certainly people have found SOLOVAIR a little easier. I'm hoping the soles wear a little bit harder, and I don't experience some of the quality issues that I have with Doc Martens, but I will share with you exactly what I find of these boots as I break them in, and then probably 6 months and 12 months after that, as is my normal way. Yeah, so that's about it. Thank you for the people who have read it, for encouraging me to get these, and the knowledge that's shared on there. A recent addition to my online browsing. Huge resource of information, worth checking out Reddit if you haven't before. If you haven't seen my channel before, please check it out. Lots of boot reviews, quality denim, everyday carry, fountain pens, pen knives, and basically any other little interests that pass my way I'd like to share on the channel. Obviously, love it if you subscribed. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. And yeah, I hope that's useful. So I'll see you for the next video. Thank you very much. Bye bye.